Terminal velocity. I could feel the engines of the ship scream to life as the heads-up display flickered in around me, my hands grasping on the control yokes with the kind of sweat that only drips when you're afraid. All the stories ran loose in my mind, pilots throwing up their liquefied organs, faces warped with the fear and pain of 1,000 lifetimes, but the death of our race was sure as my own mortality. This was my moment. Glory or death. That's what they tell you, until the day that you realize it was never a choice. These were our final stories, and they had to matter. Not to the universe, but to us. We will die in the fires of war. Amphetamine surging through my veins, I screamed as loud as I could as I saw the tracks ahead of me flare with electricity, my knuckles white upon the controls.
Magnetic catapult engaged,
said the onboard computer. The ship rumbling around me as it shrieked like a banshee started to accelerate, and the airlock at the end of the track opened up into an infinite blackness. I am not a coward. Gripping the throttle as I shot into space at the speed of sound, I wrecked it back, tearing open a wormhole that sucked me into a void of liquid stars. I could feel it even then, the slow prickle of my skin, the writhing doubt in the back of my mind as the pleading faces of my family flickered through my vision, the fall of their worlds as I fled in disgrace. The void spat me forth into a storm of flames, and I banked down as the fiery remnants of a ship swung by overhead. I saw it, then, my skull thrumming with pain as I struggled to anchor myself. Drifting in the darkness above the earth in a haze of shifting matter, black, feathered tendrils and limbs writhed in unison, swimming eternally through a colossal mass of crawling eyes and razor-toothed maws. Images of chaos and death flashed through my vision as I screamed with raw adrenaline, trying to keep my mind from fading as streams of blood dripped from my eyes, but another squadron tore forward from behind me. I had all the courage I needed. Looking back as I steadied the wings, I saw the capital ships drop out of warp, firing their massive railguns in a blinding cascade of light. I pulled the control yokes and my ship jaunted forward, picking up speed as its mass dropped to nothing. Tearing toward the target as the taste of blood filled my mouth, I hit the triggers, firing my guns again and again with a thunk 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 that shook the frigate to its core. Nearing impact, I bowed the ship down, tearing beneath the flame-wrecked tentacle at possible speeds before cranking the ship up again, the sheer force threatening to rip my body in two. The warnings on the display flashed red, and I banked to the right as a massive, misshapen hand swept towards me. Keeping the ship level, the metal shook with power as I pushed it as fast as it could go, and sped straight towards the ravaged flesh of two fingers. Pulling a sharp turn, an unbearable pain shuddered through my mind as the abomination warped and expanded, bending space as it threw off a shockwave of horror and grief. As it hit me, my vision trembled and distended, thrashing violently into a winding cascade of memory and doubt. I could hear myself screaming, firing off random electrical signals in my brain before the narcotic haze dampened the madness with uncontrollable rage. My muscles jerking and convulsing, my vision ripped back to an advanced current of shifting, black eyes that wormed through my mind. I fired another volley as I clenched my bleeding teeth, the cockpit rattling with fury around me as my guns flared to the void. Overwhelmed with fear and adrenaline as I drew closer to impact, I pulled back the throttle and teleported through the abomination, swallowed instantaneously in a flash of color that I could barely perceive. Its flesh transcended the material world. I could feel it howling within me, screeching in a sickening, otherworldly chaos that kneaded my skin and flooded my mind with the maddening gibbering of primeval languages. All at once, the void parted. I shot forward into the blackness of space, blood trickling from my mouth as I sped between the rows of capital artillery that cracked like thunder around me. Lost in a haze of confusion and nausea, I felt the sickening lumps of my dissolved intestines retched up through my throat, and my vomit smacked against the window in a spatter of blood. My hands slipped from the controls, and the ship began to waver. My consciousness lost between broken hallucinations and the sight of a frigate losing control ahead of me. Mindlessly shearing through space, it rammed into a capital ship at my side, detonating in a fiery explosion that pelted my vessel with burning shrapnel. There I drifted, suffocating and strapped to the gutted vessel as I watched the remains of the fleet spiral into madness, watched as the nightmare convulsed, surging its awful form through the earth before engulfing it entirely. Distant mountains tore from their foundations in clouds of debris. The entire ocean burned away within fleeting seconds. The matter of our world corroded to dust as the entity swallowed it whole, flaring its tentacles in a blur of shifting motion as the sunlight swam upon its mass, drowning in blackness as my mind bled away from existence. For once in my life, I had proven my worth, spiraling down into the void of insignificance, hand in hand with the legacy of my species. For one beautiful, cruel moment in time, we were absolved of our sins. At last, we were together. Freak. I work at the mental ward in my city's hospital. It's not like they depict it in the movies. This place is not filled with insane maniacs and serial killers. Most of our patients are just people who are confused or have certain issues. Sure, we get the occasional crazy, but those are more an exception to the rule. Most of them get put straight into the asylum. That is the place that most people think of when they hear about the mental ill or the mental ward. Recently, though, we got a new patient. It is a case of severe abuse, mental fatigue, and confusion. Kid is in his teens and probably about 16 years old. At least that's what is written in his file. At first, it seems pretty clear that he never was at a real school or came from an abusive home. Pretty soon, it became apparent that he was more going on. The community he grew up in sounds more like some sort of cult. The biggest problem is that the kid isn't able to describe things well, due to not knowing many words or things. At times I wonder if they were just living in the wilderness. Things get even weirder when we asked him to describe the place he lived at and the people he lived with. He just looked at us when we said the word people. He didn't seem to understand. It seemed he didn't know the word. He said the others were different from him, and he was regarded as a freak. After that, he said a lot of other things that didn't make much sense. It was a week or so ago when the therapist, Miss Conrad, had an idea. Since the kid was able to read and write in a certain extent, she got the idea to let the kid type out the stuff he knows, like a sort of retelling of his past. With the help of the nurses, he was able to slowly teach the kid how to use the keyboard and how text editing worked. It was a whole new world for him. In the first few days, he seemed totally absorbed into it and was happy about every letter he made appear on the screen. At first, he just typed out random things, only letters, not even words. After some more talk with Miss Conrad, though, he understood what he was supposed to be doing. During the first few days, he simply typed out what he saw at the hospital, but then he started to tell his story. Honestly, I have no idea what to make of this whole thing, but when I'm reading the story he wrote, I get goosebumps. I was able to get a copy of the document, and I'm going to transcribe it here word by word. Hello. I was told to type out my story for the peoples here. It feels really weird to sit here all day, but the caretaker said it's good to do. I am a male one. The caretakers told me I must be about 6 and 10 numbers. They explained what the age number is, but it is strange. Back from where I come from, we do not have them. We only have names. I lived with many others. We were all different. This word is hard, but the caretaker showed me how to type it. Different. The caretaker said it is because of age. Some are smaller and others are bigger because of it. I'm not sure if they are right. We had mothers and fathers, better to say male and female ones, who took care of the ones that were smaller and different and needed help like me. The caretaker said it was us being young ones. Children, he said. Which is a funny word. You say it means offsprung. Another word I don't understand. He explained that it is the ones born from others. I am bad. I am the one that does not belong. I am a freak, they said. I was not thrown out or left, but also not treated like others. I had a box I slept in outside. The others slept inside. When it was food, I only got what the others left or not wanted. The caretaker said it is terrible, and we're all sad, but it is normal for me. I am a freak, and freaks live like that. Ever since and always would, so I did not ask about it. The hits, the beating, the pain, it was normal. It was my life, and I only knew that. I often hurt and was hungry, but I thought this was right and normal. I was at the place very long and learned speaking and reading like everyone. We had a place to learn at from the elders. I was happy that a freak can learn too. I liked learning. My brain was real good and not like my body. I was told that a freak cannot have a good brain and was beaten by the rest. It was normal, and I did not know better. I know it was bad. My body was wrong and different. The others looked not like me and were different. My head and body is weird, and all the things coming out of it are wrong. I did not know why. I got older and learned more and often think why I was so different. I wanted to know why I was the only freak. I got hit and said to be happy to be alive. I never asked again but wanted to know still. When it was night, I walked. It hurt because my body was weak and weird. The others could do it better. still did. At night they slept and I was alone. I liked that. The walking was nice and being alone was nice and no beating was nice. I was not happy. I was a freak, so it was normal and I knew. I lived because of the others. My body was too fragile and small and weird and white. Not like theirs. So I was thankful to them. One night I walked too far. I have a good head and I can think, but sometimes I cannot think like the others. I cannot feel the way and the time like they can. So I walked far than usual. I forgot time because I was thinking. I wondered about other freaks. He said freaks always were treated like me. My brain is good, so I know there were other freaks before me. So I dreamt about more freaks and walked on and on. Slowly, not like they do, but I still walked off. I tried to get back when it got light, but my body is stupid and brain smart but different. I got lost and not home. I was alone for a long time. It went dark and light many times. I got scared. I was not beaten, but I still missed the others. I cannot hunt and eat on my own. My body is dumb and my jaw and teeth and head are weird. I tried to eat like the others do to get animals, but they always get away. I am not like them. I was alone and cried, more than before. I walked on, but I was hungry and felt weak. Then, during the night, I found a way. The caretaker named it Street, I think. I was surprised, but I had learned about it. I was scared since the others said it was dangerous. I walked on it and it felt weird, not normal. I was scared by fast animals often, so I hid when they were running. I had to sleep at one point because I was so tired and weak. That is when the thing happened. I am so happy. Can't really type the words out, but I'm just not happy it is no more. Happy was when I got to eat and was not beaten, but this was different. I saw others. Not the others from home, but other freaks. They rode one of the fast animals. It was weird and I laughed because they ride inside. Well, I got told it was no animal by the caretaker. It is a car. A machine like the commuter I'm writing on. I forgot for a moment because there is so much to learn. Learning is fun. I was really happy when I saw the other freaks, but also very sleepy. I slept for a long time, and when I woke, I was at a different place. Not a cave or hut, but a special one. A spittle, I think it is. I am still here. It is the caretaker's home. There are so many here. I am so happy because it is a freak place. I think all the freaks in the world are here. It's so weird. The caretakers are freaks too, only they are different. They are completely white and they have things about the body that others do not. Maybe they are not freaks like me, but they look like it. The caretaker was here for a long time. We talk a lot. I like that, but my head hurts from learning. I am sleepy, but they said freak is wrong. I do not know what they mean. He wrote down a word for me. I do not know it. I've never heard it, but they say it is normal. The word is human. The gravedigger had an odd conversation. It was hardly past 7 that morning when the gravedigger saw the earth stir. Fingers, rotted and skeletal, burst forth from the dirt. With force they pulled their bodies to freedom. It was all happening all over the graveyard. Every grave, every square inch of dirt was overturned. Soon there were thousands, so many more than the graveyard actually held. A horde of the undead stood before him. The gravedigger watched with his shovel in hand. He found himself simultaneously horrified and fascinated. The creatures stumbled about. They moved with urgency, but their decrepit bodies only allowed for so much. Yelling and screaming, they started to coalesce near the center of the graveyard. They were revolting, damned souls. Just as the gravedigger went to turn, to flee, a hand gripped his shoulder. The grime soaked deep into his sleeve. It leaked down his arm. Behind him, a man, what was left of him, stared into the gravedigger's eyes. The corpse's face had long since lost its tissue, but it had eyes, returned anew in their sockets, that showed nothing but fear. The ghoul spoke to the gravedigger, and the gravedigger listened. Go, it begged of him. Please, go. What sort of madness was this? What trickery of hell? The gravedigger brought his shovel to bear, and he swung it down on the corpse. It was met with a revolting, moist crunch. figure fell, his fingers twitched, and his skull leaked. From behind, 3 more figures came. 2 ignored the gravedigger. They bent to pick up the wounded husk at the gravedigger's feet, dragged him on with the strength he could muster. They carried him like a wounded ally. The 3rd figure, what had once been a woman, perhaps, spoke to the gravedigger. She pleaded, "Go. Please. Tell them." The gravedigger couldn't move. He wouldn't. These fiends were no master of him. Why did they command him so? For what purpose? Answers. He demanded answers. Why? He asked, the words falling out of his bearded face. Why aren't you stood in the ground? The ghoul didn't blink. She simply told him the terrible truth. Hell isn't safe anymore. Those words. Gravedigger couldn't even comprehend them. What was the meaning of all of them? Hell? Safe? What kind of heaven was the pit of eternal damnation? What are you talking about? Had she dared to cry, she would have let it fall. Instead, she had to use her trembling voice to convey her fears. Lucifer is dead. He killed him. He is coming. The words held no meaning for the gravedigger, for he had not been there. He had not seen the horrors that even the denizens of hell itself couldn't describe. Then, from the graves, dark figures with eyes of flame and hatred came. They moved like smoke, and they filled the air with their sulphurous flames. The gravedigger watched as demons, Satan's orchestrators of pain and suffering, began to assist the poor wandering souls below. They started to stack atop each other, one by one. Their bodies built the foundation. What in the name of God? He could only ponder. A collective lamenting cascaded from the hills around. The gravedigger saw them. From every direction, more hordes moved together, more undead. They lumbered forth, with a cemetery in their sights, their hellish rendezvous. The gravedigger was speechless. The ghoul instructed him. Go to your family. We'll need them too. He questioned the request. My family? The living, the thing corrected, her gaze skyward. We'll need them too, if we're going to make it. Make it? Where? The ghoul cried as she wandered forth, urgency fluttered her words. The gates! We have to make it to the gates! The gravedigger shook his head. Their aim was clear, but his teachings were concrete. What's judged is judged. He won't take you, or any of us unworthy. That stopped her, if for just a moment. She turned, for he knew nothing. We seek not redemption, she said. We damned seek to warn the righteous. The honesty in the ghoul's voice brought a heavy weight to the gravedigger's stomach. He couldn't stand. The earth below had started to tremble. The gravedigger fell, the dirt as his knees gave in. And with his face to the ground he heard it. There was a deep, unbridled scream echoing below the surface. A demented laugh. The sound of 1,000 horned wings, insect feet. They grew closer. Climbing, as he stood, bodies were flung atop each other, as the demons in the Forgotten built their tower to salvation. Who is he? The gravedigger asked. It was his turn to plead, but the corpse said nothing. It didn't take much for the gravedigger to realize that they couldn't respond even if they wanted to. They didn't know. As the gravedigger ran home, the ghoul uttered a final mantra under her breath. The words still tasted so alien to her, so vile and disgusting. It was all they had left. God must know that he is coming. Hey everybody, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, this sort of content, be sure to subscribe, hit that like button, and leave a comment below. There will be a link to this story in the description. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.